Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on WhoKnewPodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at WhoKnewPodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at WhoKnewPodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today's episode is The Fires of Pompeii, episode 2 of season 4. The Doctor takes Donna on a sightseeing trip to ancient Rome, only it turns out to be Pompeii, and Vesuvius is about to blow. This episode is written by James Moran, directed by Colin Teague. It originally aired on the 12th of April, 2008, and was watched by 8.1 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Brian.
This is Josh.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Hi, this is Frank.
The Doctor and Donna arrive in ancient Pompeii, and Donna discovers that the TARDIS translates both written and spoken languages. As they stroll through a marketplace, they are followed by a mysterious young woman in red robes.
Who likes to wait.
And we'll never see her again, ever.
Ever.
The ground begins to rumble, and a nearby mountain starts to smoke. They realize that this isn't Rome.
I like that little reminder of the language, the TARDIS language translator.
Yeah.
Because we all know it, and all the diehard geeky fans know it. But for people who just pop in and out, I think it's a nice reminder, and it's nice to see evidence of it happening as the show goes on.
And then they do it really clever.
Yeah.
You know, and I love her. She's thinking, going, well, if I'm speaking Latin, what happens when I speak Latin? And then she says, Veni, Vidi, Vici. No, speak ye Celtic. I love that. I just think that's hysterical.
Also like the reference to Epcot. We're in
Yeah.
Epcot.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's English.
I love in the beginning of this episode when they're in the TARDIS, how overjoyed Donna is.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying the same thing.
And for me, Donna is me. I feel this is how I would be if I were inside the TARDIS. I would be just like freaking out and ecstatic.
I did notice that in the beginning when the TARDIS was rocking back and forth, they did lean the wrong way. That part of the fun.
It's wibbly wobbly.
Okay.
And won't fall down.
Oh, there you go.
When they first arrive and they still think it's Rome, Donna says, or she remarks that everyone that she's looking at is dead. Mm-hmm. And that comes back later in the episode quite a bit. But it's interesting that...
Spoiler, just kidding.
Yeah, it's interesting that to start off, like, she's already kind of accepted their fate, but accepted their fate as... like they died naturally of whatever happened because they're historical figures, not that they suffer a horrible death. Right. So,
well, and also not that they are dying.
Right.
I think that's a difference.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it is kind of a little bit of a shock to her where she's like, oh, all these people are dead. Mm-hmm. But it's not horrific because, of course, you're traveling through time.
Isn't that something that Rose said in the second episode?
Yes. Yeah. You mean when Earth completely blew up in front of her face and the Doctor was doing that lovely first date?
Well, that and also the fact that she just said everyone I know is dead.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the way Rose said it was a lot more melancholy. Mm-hmm. You know, and Donna was just, I'm in a point in history, and to me, these people have already passed on, eons ago. It's just sort of
matter of fact.
Trying to grasp the time travel aspect of it rather than the
emotional aspect of it. Also, I always laugh because another history lesson from Brian. They're like, oh, this is Pompeii and it's Volcano Day. It's like, well, you could also be in Herculaneum, but that's not as famous as Pompeii. But because there was another city on the other side of the volcano that got destroyed too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But did they find like people in the same way?
No, but they found those relics after of that city. It was smaller than Pompeii, but it's not the famous artifacts of Pompeii.
Did those people get out, or it just was more destroyed?
There was more destroyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they were obliterated, whereas the Pompeii, some of those people were preserved.
Right.
You think what is it?
Herculaneum.
You think they would have been stronger? Forget it's not worth the joke.
The banter between them was always fun.
Yes.
And how the Doctor's saying, yeah, Rome. Oh, but I had nothing to do with the fire. Well, yeah, but... And so throughout this whole series, he's always throwing out different references. So sometimes you don't know which ones to pay attention to or not. So you start just dismissing some of the things. Oh, it's just a banter for fun. But they put some in throughout these whole episodes. That I didn't listen to that the first time because of things like that.
But what you're saying about the fire is that that's a reference to the first Doctor, Cyril, in 1963, the Romans, that the Doctor did not directly start the fire, but he did hold a map a bit too close to an open flame, giving Nero the idea for the fire.
I also really like the just the comedic banter between him and Donna. It's much more. There's always comedic banter between him and the companions, but because of these two characters together, there's a lot more.
Donna's a lot quicker in her
Yes.
quibs,
Yeah.
so she can give it right back. So they banter really well.
Yeah, there's no learning curve. I mean, this is only their second episode, if you don't count Runaway Bride.
She's just right in there.
Yeah, and it's great. We're not in the middle of that learning curve. Donna's a little bit older, so it's not like it's the young, impressionable.
And she's been waiting for this too.
Yes.
So as opposed to it being thrust upon her.
She's also been prepared with all her luggage.
With all her luggage.
The thing is, there's no thrall. There's no thrall. She's not enthralled. Buffy reference. That's I had to put that in there. But that's what it is. She sees him. Yeah, she knows what he can do and respects that and is admire that. But it's going. No, you're still just a skinny little thing.
Yeah. You're not an all-powerful god.
Yeah, you
Skinny alien nothing.
You say Time Lord like something. You go, yeah, well, I'm a human. So
Yeah.
there.
Spaceman.
Right.
And I always do love those rare moments when we see the Doctor just turn and run. I love those moments. It really hits home how important, how scary, how impactful this is. And so the Doctor's just like, it's Volcano Day. We're out of here. There's no discussion. We're just leaving. And I like that. Because the tone of this episode is all over the place. Like, they have the witty banter,
Right.
the no speaky Celtic. There's a lot of colloquialism.
There's also history involved.
Yeah, but at the same time, so it's very loose. It's very fun. And then I almost think that gives it license later on to become very deep and very serious. And we've had other episodes where the tone shift is jarring, but it's not in this one.
Yeah, this one, it all gels
Yeah,
perfectly.
I think it gels really well.
I think because it comes out of story. The story is guiding this, and they're reacting, whether they're reacting funny or they're reacting real or serious. It comes from that as opposed to a tone being shoved into the story.
Right. It's organic.
Yes.
And funny is different than silly.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good point.
But wait, back to what you
One
were
point
saying.
for Frank.
Pen drop.
I didn't know this was a cell phone commercial. Anyway, back to what Brian was saying about the fact that the Doctor is running. There was, I think it was 42, where Martha and him are on the spaceship, and they sense something's wrong, and they're like, instead of running, they're thinking, hey, let's figure what's going on wrong with this place. Where in Pompeii, he wants to do the opposite and just get out of there.
Yeah.
Because he knows he can't change anything about that.
And I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The Doctor and Donna run back to the TARDIS, but it is missing. A merchant has sold it as modern art to Caecilius, a marble sculptor. He and his wife have an ordinary son, Quintus, and a daughter, Evelina, who can see the future and is going to be part of the sisterhood. The woman in red who has been following the Doctor and Donna is part of that sisterhood, the Sibylline. She returns to their temple and informs them that the prophecy of the blue box has arrived. That prophecy states that there will be fire and destruction when it arrives, but the high priestess says that it is wrong. She has seen a different, true prophecy, one of prosperity for Pompeii.
The reference to the TARDIS being modern art is from The City of Death with John Cleese and somebody else in a pair of art critics, where the Doctor has left the TARDIS in a museum, and then John Cleese is commenting on modern art, and then
That's right.
the Doctor and Romana just walk in and they leave.
and then the two of them kind of stare at it going, wonderful art.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I like that. That's a callback, but you don't really. It's not.
You don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah. It's interesting to me how, and the only word I could think to describe it is colloquial, the writer has made the family. They seem to be very modern. They're not written in what you would stereotypically put an ancient Roman family.
Well, I also interpret that like the way they spoke to each other as the TARDIS's translation.
It's that way too, but I think what they're really trying to sell is that they're just ordinary people.
Yes.
And there's no difference between the problems that they had in 79 AD and the problems a family has today. You've got the rebellious moody emo teenager, the husband and wife, banter back and forth with each other. So I think they're using that manner of speech to really say these are just average people, except their daughter can see the future.
I think we should talk about the woman in red.
Kelly
Sue Sayer.
LeBrock.
Who we'll never see again.
Ever.
Well, we will. So I think we have to, inform who she is.
You want to give the actress name?
Oh.
Okay. The actress is Karen Gillan.
I thought
Oh,
so.
really?
And
Yep.
who would that be,
She
Frank?
did look familiar. And
She plays Amy, who will be a companion later on.
Amelia Pond.
Do you
She's
guys
also, if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, she's in that. She's in the new Jumanji.
Oh, I thought you had another one.
She was in something else, and I can't think of it right now.
Selfie.
Thank you.
Oh, that was her? Okay. I thought,
Wasn't there another one with
A
the
TV show.
mirror?
The TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, TV show with John Cho.
So this episode spawned a lot of return
Yes.
Doctor Who cast members.
And a Sherlock as well.
Because Caecilius, Peter Capaldi, he later comes on something in Doctor
Yeah.
Who.
Well, he comes back in Torchwood.
That's right. That's true. He comes back in Torchwood. Yeah, we see him again in Torchwood. Yeah.
And then never again.
And then never again. Although sometimes somebody wonders who frowned these frown lines and why.
Back to
Reality?
back to Brian mentioning talking about the family being a very realistic kind of family. I think that even started with the vendor. Like oftentimes we think of these historical like fiction settings as people very prim and proper, and here we have a very like Cockney, very British. Well, the vendor himself
the
was.
vendor.
Oh, the vendor.
No
Gotcha.
speaky Celtic.
Gotcha.
But even though he's speaking Latin as an American audience, I found it very like Charles Dickens, like Cockney, like you know that kind of feeling. And I wonder for the Celtic connection and the Welsh. I know England or Britain has a much stronger connection to Rome than I think we in the U.S. do.
Right.
So I was just wondering.
Oh, yeah.
if-
London existed.
right?
Londinium.
So
was
do you
its
have
name.
any like more insight into the Welsh joke, like the Celtic Welsh
No, I think
dichotomy, or
that
is
was
that
just thrown in as a funny joke.
Okay.
Where it would just be like, I can't think of what the equivalent today would be, but just like, oh, you're speaking a bizarre, wacky language, you wacky foreigner, you. Mm-hmm. So and
Was
they
it a
just
dig
picked
at
Celtic.
Welsh as well? From
It could be.
I think it's because Russell's Welsh, isn't he? He just wanted to throw that in there.
okay,
I also like that he doesn't say Welsh. I like that he says Celtic.
Yeah.
Because
but then-
it's broader.
but then the doctor says you sound Welsh, right, to Donna?
I think
Yeah,
Welsh
saying
is mentioned.
Celtic Welsh.
Okay, it's all
Because
the
that's how
same thing.
they hear it
Yeah.
as
No.
a foreign language,
Oh.
not
But
the...
Celtic.
But to the doctor,
Welsh is its own language that's like has influences from other Celtic languages.
so it would, in the
But it
context
is
of
its own
that, it was
language.
telling Donna like you have this Welsh accent to this guy where like we're speaking English now.
Yes.
Okay.
The Vesuvius keeps rumbling, and everyone just runs around to protect everything from falling. Reminded me so much of Mary Poppins when the cannon was going to go off, and everybody just runs around.
And that was
hoping.
the direction in the script. They said make it like Mary Poppins.
Oh, good, I got it.
That's funny.
2 points for Frank.
I did notice too that everyone, the first rumble when they were still in the street people were also kind of smiling, like, "Oh, isn't this fun or funny that this?" Because they have no reference to what can happen.
Well, because that one on the street was only like a 4-pointer. You don't react to that.
Oh, that's right. It could be a truck rolling by.
Exactly.
What's a truck?
It's like when we're all sitting at a conference table and it's a 4.3 earthquake and no one moves. They just keep doing their business,
Yeah. We're from Los Angeles.
That's
what we
happened
do.
at work. I'm like,
That's happened.
I'm like, calm down, people. You know where we live.
Well, there is always that split second where you go, is it going to get bigger? Nah.
Nah, we're okay.
And then there's that split second of, or is it San Francisco falling into the ocean?
Donna tells the doctor that they must warn the people to leave, but he says they can't change history. This is a fixed point in time, but Donna refuses to accept that. They go to Caecilius' house to retrieve the TARDIS. Once there, Donna suggests that the family leave because they are too close to the volcano. They have never heard of that word and don't know what she is talking about. The doctor pulls her aside as Lucius Petrus Dextrus, the city's chief augur, arrives. He is there to pick up a piece of marble he has custom ordered. When the slab is brought out, the doctor and Donna recognize it as a large computer chip.
And this actor is played by someone who was in Sherlock and A Touch of Pink.
Moriarty.
That would be Phil Davis, who plays Lucius. He's also in Being Human as Captain Hatch, and he was also in Casanova.
He doesn't look happy at all.
Well, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
It's tough being a seer.
So auger, to me, that's a thing that digs up holes or
It's a tool, yeah, but it's also another
He is a
completely
tool.
unrelated
That's
word.
with an E. This
Oh.
is with a U.
okay.
1 point for me that only Frank will get.
No. But auger is also. I have written down. It's all what it was. And he left it out. So an auger is a future teller.
God, anyway, I figured
It's
that,
too
but
sad.
I just never heard
But-
that word before.
Did you never play Dungeons and Dragons?
I did, but not extensively.
Okay, that's
We
why
kept
I learned
losing because we
augers.
didn't have an auger. Had we known.
Well played.
If you had foreseen that. Oh, wait.
We my wife and I watched a few episodes from Peter Capaldi's season while we were watching this one, and I have to say I like his accent in Fires of Pompeii much better than what I hear coming up later, just because it's a little bit easier to understand. I know he had less words than I'm sure he will have later when he becomes. I understand that the Doctor, as he plays the Doctor, is more probably his actual
Scottish accent, yeah.
where this one he probably had a lot more
This is
coaching
British, yeah.
to get that cleaner, but
Yeah, he's
it
a
is
guest
easier
star
to
too. He's like,
understand,
I have
yeah.
a guest star in Doctor Who. I want everyone to be able to understand me.
Yeah, and I know the whole Roman thing was all that to say. I wish he had kept the accent as he played the Doctor later.
When Lucius comes in, they're all just so, oh, wow, what a wonderful person. And they say, have you ever heard such wisdom? And they said, never. And Donna's, yeah, that's true. Because she knows that what he's speaking is just nothing.
Yeah, I like that scene where it's a war with words, sort of a back and forth between the Doctor and Lucius. And we all know that
Right.
the Doctor's weapons is words. And I like how he kind of one-ups him, and then he goes, an educated man.
I couldn't get past his teeth.
I like because the tone shifts here when they're doing like the prophecy and you call yourself noble, and how they're one-upping each other, but by the reaction of the Doctor, by the reaction of Donna, the tension's really mounting because they're like freaking out, going, what is going on? And I think it's we as a viewer have almost been set up by the fun nature up until this point. And now the tone is shifting into a more serious place. I think it works really well, and I really, really like it.
Oh, and this again highlights the Doctor's curiosity, because once they're getting ready to leave, and then he unveils the marble slab, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what is that? We need to stay."
Yeah. There's a good fight between him and Donna where he, she's like, well, who are you? And he's like, I'm a Time Lord. And she's like, Donna, human, no. So, their second episode, and she's already disagreeing with him, but for good cause.
I'm Spartacus.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that was a
So
good.
am I.
It was a very efficient joke.
Yes.
Like set up, punchline, and like fallout was all really well done.
And then there's the running gag of like Mr. and Mrs. Spartacus.
Yeah.
No, not ever. Not ever.
They think that they're together. That's the running joke partly for this whole series, that they are the same. They're together. They're husband and wife. They're brother and sister.
Because they have such a rapport as well.
And wondering if they meant that as a foreshadowing.
Maybe.
I wrote the entire line down. I love this line. I'm not sure what sort of kids you've been flying around with, but you're not telling me to shut up. Because it does kind of hit home that Donna is not like any of the other companions.
And that she's not a child. She knows what she wants.
Yep. We also get the prophecy, she is returning.
Yep.
You don't know what that means.
Well, not yet. That's the next paragraph.
Is it? Third star for Frank. Okay.
You're just on a roll today.
Who got the Faulty Towers joke? Barcelona.
Oh, well, I always recognized with the Barcelona, but I didn't know that was from Faulty Towers. I didn't watch Faulty Towers.
But yeah, he always, forgive him. He's from Barcelona. Barcelona. Manuel! Evelina comes in and is in a drug-altered state. She has been inhaling the fumes from vents inside the house that are above the lava flow that runs under the city. She can see who they really are and state that they are the Doctor and the noblewoman. Not to be outdone by a feeble and inferior woman, Lucius says that the Doctor is from Gallifrey and Donna is from London. He also tells the Doctor that she is returning and that there is something on Donna's back. Evelina fires back that the Doctor is the Lord of Time and then collapses. Her arm is turned to stone from inhaling the fumes.
I like here the use of the Dutch angles as each soothsayer starts giving something new, and it just gets more and more angular.
It's also ramping up the tension. I like how in this scene the tone of the episode changes. So before it was all casual and a bit lighthearted. Now you see the Doctor and Donna's reactions to the prophecies, and because of their reactions, it's getting a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious. They don't know what's going on, so the tone is shifting, and I think it's done really well.
I think a lot of that is testament to the actor too, because he's the way he sells it, and he's so different, and there's not 1 ounce of levity in his face. So I think it's kind of like everything sort of starts to change towards him. So when he enters, it just feels different from the get go.
And especially because when he entered, he is spouting these like fortune cookie phrases
Right.
that aren't really like
Right, like
profound.
he could be fake.
And so, but the girl seems like she is, you know, she's got her face is sullen and
Right.
she's been inhaling the vapors. You're like, oh yeah, she's the real deal. This guy's a jokester. But then when he pulled out Gallifrey, you're like, whoa, like, what is this?
And there's a future reference to there's something on Donna's back, which I found very interesting that they threw that in this early.
And she's returning.
So they
Yeah,
threw
I don't know.
both
I can't remember what that's about.
Well, maybe
But
you'll
we've
find
already
out
seen,
soon.
Yeah.
We've already seen it in
Partners in Crime.
Partners in Crime.
That's true. But is that the she?
I'm confused.
Or is it the high
Rose.
priestess?
Rose.
Rose.
Oh, I thought they were
Rose.
talking about Donna. Okay.
That's not the she.
Okay. Well, yeah. Now I get what you're saying.
But is it Rose or is it the high priestess? In the episode, before knowing what's going on, I'd forgotten about Rose, and so I thought the high priestess was what they were going to be referring to.
Yeah.
She's returning.
And then Evelina makes another one of the prophecies. Someone must make a choice, leading that to the immediate future of what
Yeah.
we're dealing with now.
A terrible choice.
That's later on.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's not just an immediate future. I think it's talking about the doctor in general. Someone must make a choice. So
Sure,
they're talking
yeah.
about the doctor is always making choices.
And right now we're dealing with a lot of, issues with Me Too and all that's going on. And this was 10 years ago. And you can see Donna's reaction because this male pompous guy comes up going, I'm not going to be, overdone by this feeble woman.
And
And
he-
they don't do it right. And that whole attitude. And you can see it in Donna's going, whoa, I'm about to punch you.
When he says that women can't be soothsayers or whatever, he says that men are the only ones who really have the talent. And then it cuts to Donna.
Well, she has to look, and then she also says, yeah, I can tell you something about tomorrow, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
he dismisses her
Well, yeah.
again. And that house must just smell like smoke constantly.
I know. And it can't be good smelling smoke.
Yeah, but the whole city would at this point.
So they've been used to it.
It's like walking down Wilshire near the tar pits.
Yeah,
You just kind of
Ew, God,
smell
that
it all the
smell.
time and
Ugh.
forget about it. Remember when people smoked cigarettes
Yeah.
everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere? I can't
Restaurants. Can you imagine eating?
Like-
Well, the smoking section's over there. It's not so bad. Can you imagine
I
eating?
can remember when there wasn't a non-smoking section.
malls, airplanes, like
Yeah,
what?
airplanes.
Yeah,
Can you
normal.
believe that?
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'm sure they got over it.
I mean, my dad used to smoke, so I know what it's like in the house.
But it's amazing now how one cigarette, and it's like, oh, that's terrible. It's like, we were around that
All
all
the
day
time.
long without even a second thought.
Yep, like Ghostbusters 1 versus Ghostbusters 2. Donna is with Evelina as she recovers. Donna asks if she can foresee anything unusual about the next day. Evelina says it will be uneventful. Donna tells her that she sees it differently and has a different prophecy. Evelina closes her eyes and connects to the sisterhood, who listen as Donna tells her about the mountain erupting and everyone dying. Evelina refuses to believe this, and the high priestess denounces this prophecy and says that Donna must die.
What I like when she didn't just shut her eyes, she put her hands over her eyes with the
Tattoo thing.
the eye,
Yeah.
the drawing or tattoo of the eyes over them. I really like that gimmick.
I like the gimmick, but they explain the reason why that they can see the future. They don't explain why they can communicate with each other by covering their eyes.
They kind of do later on because the doctor also during this scene, he's over with Cachilius and he's examining the smoke, and part of it is the stone dust that they're inhaling. And we find out later on why that's important.
Okay,
We can
so
talk about it
that's the only-
later on
Oh,
because
I was with Arlene. I was like, no, they never explain how they can do that
it is a psychic link
in the
through
stone.
the stone dust.
So the people who breathe the stone can be linked.
Right, but not everybody has that ability. So they're
Otherwise,
tapping into
everybody
something
in the whole city.
in the humans that then takes it. That's why the sisterhood, that's why she's going to be part of the sisterhood. Her brother can't be affected by it. But this guy who's the augur, he does it. It could be just maybe they breathe it more and then
Yeah, I
they
think
develop
probably
it.
just more.
Or they're already susceptible because not everybody tells the future. So I'm not sure. on that
You
part.
just explained something. Thank you.
Who knew?
4? Is that 4?
On a roll.
Okay, fine. I like this episode.
That's good.
One thing happens here that happens in the next episode too, but Donna should not touch diseased
Yes.
things.
I
Right.
thought the
What-
same thing.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Donna?
Is that what Dragon Scale from Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Yes.
In
And a woman's
general.
arm is turning into stone. You don't touch it.
And
You
she
look
goes
at
right
it.
for it.
especially,
Yeah.
especially you know, like back before there was any sort of medicines. There's some disease.
It's like, this smells bad. Here, smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Martha would have never done that.
Yeah, Martha.
Yeah. Or
like-
she would have had like a scalpel and like taken a little, sample.
He's like, let me get some latex gloves on.
Yeah. I'm like, Donna, no. What are you doing?
The Doctor and Quintus go to Lucius's home and discover multiple marble slab circuits. The Doctor arranges them and says that they make an energy converter. They are caught by Lucius, and the Doctor asks who commissioned these slabs. Lucius orders his men to kill them. The Doctor breaks off his stone arm, and they escape. Lucius calls up a stone warrior from the lava river to chase them. It follows them back to Caecilius' house and attacks. Quintus douses it with water, destroying it. While the attack was going on, the Sisterhood snuck in and kidnapped Donna, taking her to the temple.
Okay. I
Yes.
like the effects. I like the idea, and I get. I at the same time don't like and get the gimmick that the head of this monster looked like a centurion's helmet.
Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's gimmicky. It's Doctor Who, and that's what I like about the show. But you know, when I'm sitting there into it, and then all of a sudden it's
I think
But-
I can hand wave that away.
unless it was, well, we are going to look like what this country sees as authority figures.
And they were also using Rome as their template for conquering the world.
Right. That's kind of how I looked at it.
I just thought of that now. Like I also did not like the
Yeah.
Trojan looking
But it's
monsters.
like my
but-
argument way back in the Satan pit. Like, why does he have horns like that? If there's no reason he would have horns, you know.
The Doctor says, I love not knowing. It must be awful to be a prophet. I
I didn't catch that.
just think that's a really good line.
The Doctor has a terrible pun because Lucius is armless enough
What?
with that accent instead of harmless. It's like nobody's taking his arm, so he's armless enough.
He didn't seem all that upset that his arm got
Yeah.
ripped off.
He saw it in the future. He knew
Saw
it was going to
coming,
happen.
Yeah.
His name, Lucius Petrus Dextrus, means Lucius Stone Right Arm.
Wow.
It's right there in the name.
Yeah.
I know we're a little late, but I did like Peter Capaldi talking to the Doctor over the vent. Even though it was a lot of exposition, I felt like, again, this character was very down to earth. It felt like a person that was alive today, just in how he was remembering stuff and talking about his
Yeah.
family and everything. I felt very at ease in that conversation. And if it was a little bit different, like, I don't know if that we would be asking if he would be a potential companion. Just the chemistry between the two here. I felt like it was something that I hadn't seen a lot of. Like, I noticed that, oh, this is a really nice like conversation.
Because it's
between the
usually
two.
with the companion that you have these types of scenes, and it's nice to see it with the Doctor this time.
I also liked that exposition. Like, it made sense. Why do they have these vents? You know, what's the deal? And he sold it very well. But also too, it was, oh, that makes sense. The richer people have heating from the actual.
Well, and not only richer people, but Pompeii. Like, he was
Right.
proud of his city over Rome.
Right. Here in Pompeii, we have it right from the mountain or whatever they called it, because they didn't have that word yet.
Then after the earthquake 17 years ago, no one moved away. And then he goes, well, San Francisco?
Right.
So-
Right.
It's such human nature just to rebuild.
And that's where the Barcelona joke comes in.
Oh, okay.
Because he says San Francisco. It must be from Spain or Spanish.
No, that's a restaurant in.
Oh, Naples. Sorry, that's Naples.
Naples, yeah.
Sorry.
Which is down the way, not that far from there.
Yeah, like Naples is in the shadow of Vesuvius. And how many people live in Naples today? Idiots. There's even a big city of Pompeii today.
Look, Achilles does explain that there's a sisterhood in those, soothsayers who said put the vents into the house. Since 17 years ago, that's when they all started actually predicting the future accurately. And they're the ones who put this in. So that's why they all have the vents.
Just remembering more of that conversation, he also mentioned, or the what's his name again?
Caecilius.
Caecilius also mentioned that soothsayers weren't good. Like, he kind of knew that was a new thing, like that it was out of the ordinary, that all of a sudden, like, this profession actually got real instead of just being a bunch of like con men.
Right. I thought that the amount of water used to kill the Stone Warrior was a little on the small side.
I thought so as
I
well.
thought maybe if that hurt him enough that he fell back into the big, pool of water that was in the house, then you can see it happening.
Yeah.
But the amount that was just thrown on and then everything just fall apart.
It's like a cupful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, don't sneeze on the person. That could really kill him. They could have gone back and just in close-up shot of bucket,
Yeah.
throw.
Even if
something that they get. So he and his servant would also just keep doing it.
You could have even had water being thrown at the camera, like just with glass,
Right.
just something to say, hey, all over the thing. Between that and the helmets.
I thought taking Donna was really quick and done well, because it's like, whoa, that has happened.
And all the chaos.
It just sort of happened. It wasn't.
I
They
do like
didn't
the fact
linger
that
too
it
much
just
on
sort
it.
of happened, but the way that just something about the way that Catherine Tate is kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for you to put your hand over my mouth, and I'm walking backwards because you're pulling me. There was just something there that was like, it was a little too staged.
I think that was a very, arduous day on the set.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, we just want to go home.
Probably, a lot of logistics and
that was the best take.
But I love the idea.
Like we were saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, oh, it'll be fine, just do this and that.
Fix it in post.
Yes.
But the doctor didn't even know that she was gone.
I love that.
That's what I liked about it. And then he goes, well, it was good that we stayed around because now we're dealing with aliens. This isn't just the volcano.
That's a
okay,
great
Donna. Donna.
But that is a great line where she says, well, if there are aliens involved, then it's good that or he says it.
Yes.
Like, there is a reason that they were there.
Yeah. Does he say it or does Donna say it?
He says it there in Kakilius' house after they destroy the Stone Warrior. He's just off by himself because they're all going, what have you brought into our house?
That's right.
It's like, your son just saved your life. Won't you think him?
Oh,
and gets
great.
them all into that while he can go and ponder.
I love that moment when they basically
Shame
them into paying attention to your son, be a good parent. There's a lot of really little moments of really good messages, like humanitarian and psych. And
yeah, this is a great episode for repeat viewing because you keep catching more and more stuff. There's a lot of layers. This is a very dense episode.
Because even the son has that arc, and that's sort of the start of it.
I just really like that if it wasn't for it being Pompeii and being when it was, a lot of the stuff wouldn't fly. Like, it was okay for them to see some stone warrior come into their house. It was okay for this man to come in and out of a blue box. And it's okay for people. Pompeii was a merchant city, so people were coming in and out. So strangers are totally normal. And gods are a thing. So all these strange things happening were a normal thing.
Also, this was
in
a
their
family.
lore.
This was a family whose daughter was becoming a soothsayer, so the otherworldly ideas were accepted.
And a good example of that is that scene between the doctor and Caecilius where, the doctor is asking questions and so the doctor's saying, well, what's that noise? What's that noise? And Caecilius is just like, we don't know. It just happens all the time. And he says it. That could be a very bad line to act. But Capaldi says it really well, very natural, very matter of fact.
But they were like, that's just the caves settling.
Yeah.
It just happens all the time.
The doctor arrives at the temple and frees Donna. He is brought before the high priestess and sees she has almost completely turned to stone. He wants to speak with the entity possessing her, and a deep voice responds they are the Pyrovile. They are creatures of stone that fell to earth thousands of years ago and were awakened by the earthquake 17 years ago.
Is this the first episode that references fixed point? I think it is. I mean, there might be some earlier instances where he says some things I can change, some things I can't. Like I can't go back on
Rose's
my own timeline.
dad dying.
Yeah,
Pete's dad was a fixed
But
point.
they never refer to it as a fixed point.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
We'll have to keep an ear out when we watch older episodes.
Well, if any of you listeners have the answer to that, let us know. But yeah, I think this might be the first time we get properly called a fixed point in time that the Doctor or any Time Lord cannot change.
Not that this is the first time, but is it kind of the beginning of the magic screwdriver phase that it can undo rope and anything that's not mechanical just because it serves the story?
It did cable in the previous episode from the window washer's cable car.
Yeah, I looked at that as the mechanism that was holding.
Yeah, the
it.
sonics shorted out the mechanism
And then it did barbed wire and empty child.
way back in the first season.
Okay.
The barbed wire was always the one that I went,
Right.
oh, okay, now it's just Sonic Ex Machina.
Well, you shake something enough with noise, it's gonna untie. Come loose.
But think of it. Sorry, but think of it this way: it's shaking the
Right.
rope.
No, that's exactly what I thought when it happened. I just, I know a lot of people complain about that.
Yeah.
But if you can buy a little bit of water and a helmeted monster, then you can buy that.
But I do love that the doctor has a water pistol.
Yes, that was great.
That's awesome. His pockets are bigger.
This scene has a bunch of stuff that I really enjoy because it goes from Donna being kidnapped to going, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yes. Again, Catherine Tate
Yeah.
is really, really good.
And then when the doctor shows up, she says something about ropes, and he goes, "Okay," and then he just undoes them. Like
Well, he liked her tunic.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
he
that's
goes, well,
right.
what about my ropes? Not so
not
much.
so much. Yeah,
I mean, they're already a partnership.
yeah. It makes these normal things funny in the way they disarm them.
And she was
Yes.
never a damsel in distress. She was
Never.
like, I'm going to get loose. And oh, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't excited to see the doctor because he's gonna set her free. It's like
She knows.
I know I'm gonna be set free. There's
yeah.
no chance of me dying here.
I just have to kind of buy my time by talking.
But she also doesn't do it in that like worship the doctor way that the other
No.
companions do. It's like, well, this is the worst thing, but it's okay because the doctor's out there and I know he's going to save me. Donna's too busy for that. Donna is just like, you got to be kidding me. Well, she's not waiting for the doctor. She's just dismissing the bad people. And I love that about Donna.
Do you have who the actress was of the head priestess gal? Not because
The
she looked
sibling?
real familiar to me.
It's either Sasha Baer or Lorraine Burroughs. I don't know which one. It's Thelina or Sparina.
All right, that doesn't help me now.
She does look familiar though, doesn't she?
Yeah, I'm sure we looked her up. Maybe I'd
Yeah, I
recognize
looked
her.
both of them up. I didn't recognize much of what they were in.
The doctor and Donna's relationship here, where she's being rescued, or not being rescued, but being set free. I think this was the first time that I remember really feeling like this was an adventure show and not like you said, Damsel in Distress, kind of more romantic. Like, because Donna knew that she was going to be set free, and the way that she looked at him and their relationship together, it just felt more like big time space epic adventure and not campy like save the girl. And I really enjoyed that on top of just Catherine Tate and David Tennant's chemistry.
Thinking of that, and then future episodes, it's even though the doctor and Donna are definitely not in a relationship, they actually have the most healthy relationship and are probably what most romantic relationships should be modeled after.
Maybe. No.
She's not impressed by the doctor.
The high priestess is almost completely stone, but she's a lot more mobile. Where Lucius, his arm is like solid stone and not fluid yet.
I think that was also too, maybe she started to become more mobile when she started to speak with the voice of the alien. I don't know if we've gotten there yet.
Oh yeah, that's good. I like
Because
that.
I was looking at, she's awfully animated for something that's like he couldn't even move his arm, but maybe that was it. Her favorite band's probably ELO. The song
Turn to Stone.
by ELO. It's a good song.
Can we
Is this thing on? This thing on? I like how they play it as there's physical power in the doctor's words. It's almost like he is forcing her to answer. But it's almost like she can't help herself but scream Pyrovale.
Oh, it was kind of like an incantation.
Yeah, it reminded
An
me
exorcism.
of the Shakespeare Code,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it is just kind of like, if I say these words, you have to
Yeah.
answer me.
That's how I took it. I didn't take it as like convincing her to start speaking.
Yeah.
It was what he was saying was evoking that reaction.
And he also said the Shadow
He
Proclamation.
invoked the Shadow
Yeah,
Proclamation.
which is our second or third reference to Shadow Proclamation. Oh, and she also says that their planet is lost. Pyroville was lost.
Take note of that.
I thought Lucius said that.
Better
The
notes.
heavens of Pyrovilia.
Oh, God, you're
disappeared.
right. 5 stars for Frank.
One hand.
A fist of stars.
Again, this scene has a lot of stuff that I like. The design of the high priestess is creepy and still like good, and the practicality of the special effects that they use, like,
Yeah.
and even the sound design. You hear like the stone moving against each other, and because I watched this with headphones on at work at that point, and you don't really get that from watching it on TV. You can hear the stone like grinding against each other.
I love the theme of the sibling sisterhood.
Like the weird choir.
The cry of
Yeah.
the women. I like it. It's very creepy. It's very spooky. It really sets the tone. And then, he's talking to the high priestess, but she's behind that gauze,
Yeah, you're like, what is that? What is
and then when they make the reveal is worth it.
And I think what's also heightened by that reveal is they like blackened her mouth, the interior of her mouth. So it looks even more alien and stone quality to it. And then the voice, the reverb that they add on the voice is just creepy.
The Doctor and Donna escape from the High Priestess by using a water pistol and descend into the tunnels below the city. Donna says that since Vesuvius will erupt because of aliens, that it must be all right for them to stop it from happening. The Doctor says Pompeii is still a fixed point in time and that these people must die. They reach a large cavern, the crash site of the Pyroville spaceship. Lucius arrives with the marble circuits and gives them to the Pyroville. They are noticed and the Pyroville attack them. They run into a sphere, which was an escape pod. There, they discover that the Pyroville planet was taken, and these aliens are now homeless. They plan to terraform the Earth and inhabit the human bodies once they are converted into stone warriors. They are using Vesuvius to power this conversion. Therefore, it will never erupt. The Doctor is faced with a decision to let them change the planet and destroy humanity, or make Vesuvius erupt, stopping their takeover, but killing the 20,000 people in Pompeii. Donna doesn't let him make the decision alone, and places her hands on his as they activate the volcano.
I know we're going to talk about that part, so I want to go back before that with the water pistol. I like how the other priestess says, I'm seeing into his mind. That weapon is harmless. And he goes, yeah, but it's gonna sting. He still shoots her.
Yeah.
I forgot about this story point, and I think it's fantastic.
Oh, me too.
The decision?
Yeah, basically the whole thing about if they didn't show up there, they're the ones that caused it. And both of them don't even realize that they're the cause of this thing. They're both trying to avoid in different ways. It was just so layered, and then they have that paradigm shift of doing exactly what in the beginning of the episode they said we don't want to do. He doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want them to die. He has to be there because he causes it. She has to kill everybody. And then just her performance, and I got all choked up, and
Me too.
It was.
But to add what you're saying, what makes this scene more for me is that it explains why all the soothsayers have one prophecy.
Right.
Is that the Doctor and Donna weren't there to have Vesuvius explode, so Pompeii does continue to be like the conversion center for the pyrovile. So they're like, yeah, tomorrow is not, it's a normal day because they're just going to continue.
Right.
But they're now introducing these two factors, being Donna and the Doctor. That's what caused, they know kind of the correct history of things. And so that explains why nobody who has the psychic power can go, Gallifrey, noblewoman of London, but then not know that tomorrow is Volcano Day. And I like that a lot.
I like that a lot. To me, this is one of those rare instances that gets Doctor Who perfect. You can boil down all of Doctor Who and show it to people in that scene. That's what Doctor Who is.
Watching it today, it really hit me how good of an episode it really is.
I like how this is the trolley experiment. So it's the trolley experiment, except it's easier to make the decision because you already know it already happened. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're making the decision, but you are making the decision, so it's circular.
I think you're going
What's
to
the
need to explain the trolley experiment.
Okay,
I
so
don't know
For
that.
those of us who haven't seen The Good Place.
So the trolley experiment is a philosophical experiment on what you would do as a human being. So there's a trolley. You're on the trolley. You're going down the tracks. On one side of the track, there is one person that is looking at you. And then there's a veer off. And on the other side of that track, there's 5 workers not looking at you at all. There's people in your trolley as well. You have a choice. You stay on the track and hit 5 people, or you switch the track and you hit that one person. What are you going to do?
Isn't there a third option of throwing yourself onto
That's
the track?
the next question.
Oh, I hit the one person.
That's what actually most people would do. So the monkey brain would tell you, well, it doesn't matter. I just want to save myself. But thinking through it would be like, well, I have to hurt the least amount of people. So then it goes on to the next thing is, all right, if that one person is a person that you know, would you still do it?
Depends on who the person is.
Someone you care about.
Yeah. If it were my mom, well, the 5 people are history.
See, so then it's just again like so that's the trolley experience. It's just a psychological.
Yeah, just
Well, then
think of
you-
What would
what your
you-
limits are.
Then
what
you
your
could
limits
think,
are.
what if one of the, because those 5 people may not even know what hit them, whereas the one person would. So if someone you cared about wouldn't even know they were, you just go on and
Yeah,
on.
you go on, and then the questions go further, and like see how far you would go, and it's the whole like at a point it gets to where if you're a doctor and you have a patient come in, and this patient has all the organs that you had that are needed and qualify to save 5 of your patients. No one knows this patient. No, it has no family. Would you kill this patient and save those 5 people?
What an awful thought.
Yeah. So it's like, but it's
No.
we separate ourselves because the trolley is the one that's hitting that one person.
Right.
But you're still killing a person to save 5 people.
Right.
So it's just this is how the doctor's brain is working at all times. So I think it's pretty amazing where he's able to function that way in all situations.
Right.
I think a big part of the dilemma in this episode was these people will be suffering.
Well, they had seen their faces. It became real.
Yeah.
You know, she there was a little kid. There was, the street vendor, and the family. Yeah, the family would be totally horrible. But at the same time, you also understand. Yeah, you've got to blow the mountain.
But they are converting humans into them because they don't have.
So everyone
bodies.
will end up suffering if they don't do it.
Exactly. But you're the one pushing the button.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And the thing is that
ELO will never make
that's
their
why
album.
there's so many times that the doctor just wants to leave. He's like, I don't want to make this choice anymore. Yeah.
And he says that in this. It's me, and also saying that we're not getting out of this alive because this is going to be a major explosion. And so Donna says, don't even think about us. That's not the important thing. And she doesn't want him to do it alone. And I love that she takes it on herself going, you're not doing this alone. I'm part of this, and puts her hands on his.
And it's our second episode. It's amazing.
And it just works.
Yeah.
Totally works. They both just sell it.
And that piece of music underneath them.
It's wonderful.
Amazing.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
And they acted so well.
On a little bit lighter note, leading up to that, I love the set with all the fire. I don't know if it was a set and practical, but whatever it was,
When they
It was a
went
quarry.
underground.
yeah, where they went
I think
underground.
it was a
and
big
the
combination
fire.
of a lot of different
But
things.
the
a lot of-
lighting and the CG stuff. Okay, whatever.
Even the
but,
CG stuff wasn't too bad.
but
wasn't too
them
good.
running around, I really bought it.
So most of these caves, some of them were practical. We've seen them before. They're the clear well caves, and they've been used as the Sycorax spaceship in the interior and the Satan pit.
Okay.
Oh, we also didn't talk about the fact that the production company went to Italy to film this episode, or Spain.
I believe it's in Rome or
It is-
Italy.
Yeah, all the exteriors of Pompeii. That's actually a permanent standing set that
get shot-
that
that they
everybody
shoot
rents
movies in?
out.
Oh, wow.
And it was cheaper for them to fly to Italy, film this episode, and fly home than to just build all
Right.
what they
Whoa.
could.
I could see that.
It's I'm going to butcher this, Cintia or Cinecitta Studios in Rome. Cinecitta. Cinecitta?
I'd have to look at it.
It's literally translate to movie town.
Oh,
Makes
like
sense.
cinema.
Yeah, and they also shot the HBO series Rome there, which is very fitting. but I don't know if I like it because it looks fake.
We have a difference of opinion on that one.
Yeah, I'm just, for my personal taste, it looks a little
I think that has
staged. Yeah.
that has a lot to do with the way they film it.
Some of their close stuff, they shoot very close up, but
Yeah.
this one had a lot of wider feeling shots. I don't know if they were shot wide or just shot close and comped into a wider scene, but it felt big seeing the doctor and Donna running around in the caves.
During part of this is when they cut back to the family who, the new day is dawning. And the mom's like, oh my gosh, we just killed a messenger from the gods, and asked Evelina what's going to happen. And that's when she talks about someone's going to be making the
choice.
decision.
The terrible
A terrible
choice.
choice.
Right.
The most terrible choice.
Before this, there is when they're going into the caves and the doctor has his pistol aimed at the big pyrophile, he has a bad joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Don't get all lavaed up.
What I like about that is that he looks at Donna and is like, was that okay? And he's just like, no.
No.
But she still keeps her emotion
Yeah.
and doesn't even break that from his bad joke.
And Donna asked them about the fixed point in time. She goes, how do you know? How do you know what that is? And because I'm a Time Lord, that's what we do. We know what is, what could be, and what must not be.
And I'm the only one. I'm the only one left. He says.
Yeah, and I like how he depicts his way of seeing the universe, much like the Ninth Doctor in Rose, the episode Rose, when he was holding her hand, says, this is the Earth turning, revolving, and then this is a different way that the 10th Doctor looks at things.
Mm-hmm.
Their escape pod is shot out by the force of the eruption as ash turns day into night. They return to Caecilius's house to retrieve the TARDIS and leave. Donna pleads with the Doctor to save the family, just this one family, just save someone. The TARDIS returns and takes the family to a hilltop overlooking the devastation. Evelina's visions are gone. The explosion of Vesuvius opened a rift in time that echoed backward, giving them the visions, but they have reached the time of impact and the rift is closed. 6 months later, the family is living in Rome and show honor to the household gods, a marble slab of the Doctor, Donna, and the TARDIS.
I didn't get that originally. I heard them talk about that. It sent ripples back in time, but I didn't get that's how they saw the future. I thought it was just the power of the dust and the stone, but that's what let them tap into that ripple in time.
Yeah, there's the two different things: the stone, which is the dust, turning them into this alien race, and also being able to connect them psychically.
Right, but also being able, but it wasn't like they could see into the future. It was that happened and it sent ripples back in time, and that's what they were tapping into.
Right, they're seeing through the time change. So it is two different things. One was the alien, one was the Doctor.
So
and
once if their plan worked, never mind, scratch that.
There's a sad line where he says history is back in place and everyone dies. Little reverse from Empty Child and the Doctor dances.
He's so upset about it, but he knows he can do nothing.
Yeah.
But Donna's plea.
She's begging.
After she leaves the family, she's there and she doesn't know what to do because the Doctor is going to leave. She
Yes.
knows the Doctor's going to leave and he's going to leave her if she doesn't get onto the TARDIS. So it was that self-preservation at that point. So she goes onto the TARDIS and right away, we have to do something. We can't just leave it this way. Just,
And then when he comes up with refers to the god Vulcan.
Mm-hmm. And that's where they come up with Volcano.
So it was Volcano originally spelled with a U.
It's a form of Vulcan, the Latin root.
I like how Donna in the escape pod, she accepts intellectually the choice of having to kill 20,000 to save the world. And then as soon as, she gets back to the town and sees the actual carnage that's taking place, she can't accept it emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's when she starts pleading with the Doctor.
and trying to get everybody to go where it could be safe and they're all running the other direction.
Yeah,
Right.
because they're running to the beach, and then it's a theory that if they had ran to the hills, they
Yeah.
would have avoided the lava because the lava flew down into the
And
water.
is that why we remember Pompeii instead of Herculaneum?
And we just found the
I just found Pompeii
archaeolo-
first.
Brian went on an expedition to a land unknown.
River Song took me to this place. No, we just the people archaeologists just found the remnants of Pompeii first.
Okay.
And because of the unique nature of what happened at Pompeii and the preservation of certain things, it became very worldwide and famous.
Yeah, and I think there is proof in that site that the lava flowed down. They all ran to the beach thinking like we'll be safe there because it's near the water, but they were just trapped.
Yeah, because that would be where everything
That
flows
was flowed
down
into-
to the
yeah,
water.
came and
Yeah.
covered
And it's not like they went to where all the boats were, I guess.
Well, I also don't think the boats would have helped either.
Well, if you get far enough out.
They
This
didn't
is-
have time.
This is a big difference between Doctor Who and Torchwood.
Yeah.
Torchwood would end with everybody dying and everybody pissed, and no, we're not going back to save that token family. And that's what Donna needs. It's just some semblance of hope, some semblance of we can do something, even on a small scale, to leave on a positive note. And that's part of the Doctor. And the Doctor says, "Thank you. I needed to have somebody."
Sometimes I do need someone.
Sometimes I do need someone.
And funny how you bring up Torchwood. Peter Capaldi showed up in Torchwood, and his story arc is very sad. And it's almost, some fans like to say that the Peter Capaldi in Torchwood was balancing the scales of Caecilius's family living that needed to be balanced out. And Torchwood took care of that because that's how Torchwood is.
So Peter Capaldi's family in Torchwood died.
They don't know it, but they're the descendant of Caecilius's now alive family. And the universe is doing its, okay, we need to balance the scales.
And that's just a fan thought.
Another Torchwood connection is the author or the writer of this episode, James Moran, wrote the Torchwood episode Sleeper. And he's a big fan of Doctor Who, so when he saw his name come up on the opening credits, he was very thrilled. So I'm happy for him. He wrote a great episode. Speaking of writing this episode, he was given these, I guess, edicts to include in the script. He was given Pompeii, moral dilemma, Roman family, fire creature, good or bad, up to you, living in volcano, inside ship that pops out of or a ship that pops out of a volcano like a champagne cork.
That's really interesting to hear how kind of like they put together. They break an episode and know what they want to put in it.
Backing up a little bit, the end scene where the TARDIS saves the family, I'm reminded of Love and Monsters because of Elton's thing about hearing that sound of the TARDIS and how it brings death. But then in this case, it brings life also because it manages to save one family from this like sea of death, literally.
Right, but him arriving in the first place is the harbinger of death.
Or is it life? Because
Oh, that's true, because he saves everyone.
And see, that's what I like about that scene.
And it's
So-
filmed almost as if it's very angelic.
Yeah, when he
You know,
comes
there's
back
bright light when the door opens to the TARDIS. It's not like you see the interior of the TARDIS. You
Right.
just have this bright light behind him shining like this massive halo.
in. Well, now you say that, I think that's to bolster the thing when they are the house gods at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When they're
Yes.
worshiping.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely...
And played seriously with "Come with Me."
Yeah.
Not if you want to
live.
There was one moment on the hilltop though, like the family's grieving and the husband and wife are grieving together about the loss, and then the kids kind of hold hands, and the doctor and Donna kind of share this look, which is not, I think it was meant to be deep emotional, but it was more like, this is about to get weird. Let's get out of here.
I didn't pick that
But,
up.
like they kind of sneak back. It was just my mood at the time I was watching it.
I like that moment when the brother takes his sister's
I
hand because
like that moment a lot, too.
he was defending her the whole episode, but at the same time he was also being a bit of a pompous
Snotty brother.
or son. He was more of a pompous son than a snotty brother. That kind of family bond was touching.
And then I don't know if you guys noticed, as she was leaving to go out on the town, she didn't have anything around her arm, and it was
Like cured.
Evelyn's, yeah.
cured. And was that supposed to be like it was cured, or was that just they forgot to
No, I think
add
so,
a
sure.
wrap?
No, she's cured.
Okay.
And then the son is now on his way to becoming a doctor. So he's
Right.
definitely been influenced by this.
I like to think about when they see medical practices like back from that far along. Like, God, what are the medical practices back then? Leeching and boils.
Actually, they
No.
were more advanced
Yes.
than
Oh yeah.
the other
The rest of this.
Middle Ages.
dark
or
ages.
things
Middle
like that.
Ages. They were a lot more advanced, so their medical books were pretty up there.
All right, let's go back there.
The High Priestess is played by Victoria Wicks, and we've also seen her in Sherlock: A Study in Pink. She plays Margaret Patterson.
Who is that?
She's the one pleading because her husband is dead, like a press conference, I believe.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
The inspiration for the family's names are from the Cambridge Latin course. It's a textbook used in there, and you have Caecilius in book 1, and then there's a character of Metella, which is the wife, and then Quintus is the son. Evelina is the only one created originally for this episode. Metella, the wife, is in Broadchurch season 1. She plays C.S. Elaine Jenkins. You can see her with David Tennant in another series. And then Evelina is played by Francesca Fowler, and she is also in Rome, which we mentioned earlier, the TV show from HBO. So Fires of Pompeii. Who is this episode good for? Or this episode is good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
I think this episode is pretty much good for everyone because it doesn't have a lot of history to it, so you can just fall right into it. Donna is a strong enough character, so you get the relationship between her and the doctor right away. You get a lot of the serious aspects of the doctor, of what he does and what he doesn't want to do and what he can't do. Yeah, I think it's good for everyone.
I will say Kelsey instructed me to vote for, or to tell everyone her vote would have been for a casual viewer. She really, really liked the last 10 minutes. I think once the whole thing with the mountain and making that choice started rolling, like that's when she got really into it. For myself, I was not gonna say new viewer, but you guys might have convinced me in discussing it. I think because it looking back, like I don't remember the Pompeii episode as being one that I think about a lot. But watching it again recently, I mean, it does have a lot of those really good notes that Doctor Who does well. So sure, and I think people should watch more Donna. So I'm gonna put it in the new viewer category.
I watched this also with someone. No, I watched it with my younger sister this time, and she's like a casual viewer. She's seen a couple of episodes, and she's like, sometimes I just don't get the Doctor. Like, what is he doing? Why does he travel? Where is he going? And then this episode answered all her questions. So she's like, oh. And then she asked me more, what are Time Lords? And then, because I would like sigh and do things on certain sections. And she's like, I don't get it. What do you mean? And then she really thought it was an interesting episode to be explained to her. And then that dilemma was just like, oh, that makes the episode. It's great. So because there's a lot of inside, I would want someone to understand it more. So I would go for casual.
I say a new viewer. I kind of agree with everything that's been said, but I think this is another one where I like more the watching it a few times. Like I remember it being just more of kind of a silly historic episode, but I don't know why I forgot that whole big thing at the end. Probably because it happened so fast. I think this is a really good example of all the stuff about Doctor Who. They travel through time. There's some silliness. There's some funniness. There's, they talk and everyone talks in the same language. Like every little gimmick about Doctor Who is in here. And just coming off of the classic episode that we watched, I kind of feel like a lot of what they were trying to do back then, like they're still trying to do the same things. It's just now they successfully do them and they do them well. So I'd say new viewer.
Yeah, I'm 100% on the new viewer. I think this is a almost perfect episode of Doctor Who. You laugh, you cry, it becomes a part of you.
You conquer.
Yeah, you conquer. The acting's great, both from the regulars and the guest cast. I think the tone is right. It's going back and forth perfectly. There's a moral dilemma. It makes you think, makes the Doctor think. It's great. I love this episode. Love it, love it, love it.
For me, it's a new viewer as well. And trying to think of what you guys haven't said that I can add to why I want this into a new category is that I think it's standalone. You can watch this and just get everything out of Doctor Who that you're supposed to get. The emotional roller coaster is a good thing in this case because it starts off silly. It goes into,
It starts off fun.
I was going to say, it starts off fun, and then it has one of the best cut to the opening theme where it's Volcano Day, and we're in Pompeii, and it's Volcano Day, and then boom, we're into the opening credits, and I love that. That's probably one of the better cold opens that I've ever seen. And then the internal logic of why certain people, the soothsayers, can see things and then others can't. I like how the internal logic works in this case, and they explain it very well. The moral dilemma, I think, is not only good for writing purposes, but it also gives us an insight of what the Doctor goes through on a daily basis, and what it must be like to be a Time Lord with all the knowledge of time and space. And it also gives the Doctor that motivation of curiosity. It kind of hammers that home in this one. Like, he wants to leave, but then he doesn't because of that circuit that's revealed. And I really like that these little Hallmark touchstones are very evocative of what Doctor Who is to me, and I would hope is what it is to other people that watch the show.
I love this episode. Have I said that?
I love this episode too. I think it's great.
It's great.
And then I love historical episodes. So
Yeah.
I like that there's a moral dilemma with the historical episode.
That wraps up Fires of Pompeii. Thanks for listening. Join us next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Allburn.
You can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show on several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
Comment on our Facebook page.
As always, please leave comments, reviews, and click like to help support Who Knew Podcast.
Also listen to us on your Amazon Echo by enabling a podcast skill.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer.
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
your work continues to inspire and entertain.
It's the same thing.
It's just fun to see how deep you're going to bury yourself.
It's all right.
Here's the shovel.
The ground is cool and warm and comforting.
Do we have a question?
The trolley question, maybe?
Who would you kill?
Who would you kill?
The 1 or 5.
Who would you kill and why and who? And where do they live?
And have you done it?
And would you videotape it? Oh.
No.
They do this.
That's how we should have introduced ourselves. I'm Spartacus.
So am I.
I'm Spartacus.
and so's my wife. A merchant has sold it as modern art to Caecilius. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm going to say it again.